we don't have just one internal conflict about one thing.
Yeah.
We are constantly growing and changing and transforming and, you know, maybe developing new fears or new misbeliefs that we have to rise above, or meeting challenges that we have to face and deal with.
We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abby Show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abby Show. Today we are tackling a big topic, and that is writing the aha moment. That moment in your character's arc, your character's journey, where they arrive at a realization of something, the thing that they have gone on this whole journey to realize. And usually it is the opposite of their misbelief. It is the underlying theme of your story. It is the wake-up call that you wish you could give your past self, and so you're passionate about writing this into this character. Or maybe it's just an idea that you want to bring to your reader's life and let them think about long after they finish the story. Whatever the case may be, your aha moment is this powerful moment where your character arrives at this new understanding of something. And it can be such an amazing, impactful moment in your story if you write it well. So that's what we're going to break down today in this episode. We're going to talk about the best techniques and methods to writing this aha moment and making it impactful on your audience, but also making it feel natural and realistic so that you're not just preaching your theme to your audience, but your character is living it and experiencing it in a very natural, authentic way. So it's a balance for sure, but it's going to be a good discussion today. So make sure you have a notebook to take some notes, and let's get into this discussion. But before we get into it, first want to thank our sponsors, who are you guys. You are the sponsors of The Kate and Abby Show. You are the patrons of The Kate and Abby Show. We so appreciate your support. So if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show to help us keep it alive and free of interruptions.
And also, when you sign up to support us on Patreon, you'll be able to be part of our monthly hangouts where we get together and talk about writing, and we touch base with you guys on your progress. And it's kind of like the virtual version of like meeting up at a coffee shop and talking about our works in progress. And
so fun.
You also get input on like what episodes we do next. We swap ideas, all kinds of fun stuff. And you can get access to that at any level of the Patreon. So no matter what your contributing level is, you will get access to those monthly hangouts too, which are really fun. They're really fun.
They are. So if you want in on that, click the link below this video to join the Patreon and support the show while getting bonus content. Okay, let's get into this discussion. The aha moment is arguably the most important part of your story, in my opinion, because it's where your character's arc comes full circle, and everything that's happened up till this moment suddenly has meaning. You know, it should have meaning throughout your story, but it has more meaning because of where your protagonist ends up.
It's kind of all led up to this moment.
Yes.
This is really
kind
of it may not be the climax of the book, but it's one of the emotional climaxes. It's one of the internal climaxes where a character is about to realize something that's going to change the course of the rest of the story and carry them into the climax.
Right. Yeah, and it shows how your character changes as a result of their journey, which is really important, whether or not you place this at the beginning or like before the climactic confrontation or after. So in some stories, you might find that the aha moment happens first, before the character faces their last big challenge, or the battle scene, or the confrontation scene, or the final push that they have to do on something to accomplish what they're going after and what they've been going after this whole time. It might come before that, and it might give them the opportunity to change the way they think about themselves and about the world, and then be empowered by this change and by this realization to go forth into the climactic confrontation with this new understanding that they can now overcome this final challenge with this new understanding. That's one way to do it. But
all these storytelling techniques are supple, they're bendable, they are customizable for your unique story. So don't feel like you have to fit a specific story beat outline in order to make this work for your story, because it might also happen after the fact. One story, or after the climax, one story that immediately comes to mind for me with that option is It's a Wonderful Life, which I've talked about many times on my channel. But the climax of that story really happens towards the end, and then you have the main character, George Bailey, has his aha moment because of the climax and because of like this confrontation with this possibility of what he, how he wished his life away. And then he was forced to face the reality of what that looks like, and then was horrified by it, and then came to his realization. And then you see him change as a character, and he's able to go into the last few minutes of the story is really, because that's kind of the descending action at that point, because he has the aha moment. He realizes he wants to live, and he realizes how valuable and important his life has been. And then with that new realization, he's able to face his future.
Right. The layout is really similar also to A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Which is similar in structure to, it's because of the climax that then the very end of the book is the aha moment, the realization, and the changed perspective. Yes. And that's another way to look at it too, is the revelation moment. It's like something is being revealed. A new thing has been revealed. And because of that, it's shifting your character's perspective, not only of their own lives perhaps, but also their perspective of the world and others, how they're going to proceed forward into the challenges that lie ahead of them, into the climax of the book, or into the end of the book, depending on how it's laid out. But the structure is interchangeable, but the principles are the same. So you can kind of shuffle it. You can shuffle those for sure and see what's going to work for you. And some of that might also be dependent upon what genre it is too.
Right. Yeah, but like keeping in mind that it has to be something powerful that shoves them into this awareness, this new realization, because their beliefs, like you said, about themselves and about the world are so ingrained in who they are, it's part of their identity. It's part of, and this is so true of, of people in real life outside of fiction. We are very attached to our beliefs that we adopt over time. And over time, they become so much a part of our psyche and our personality and our reality that it's very hard to let go of those beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard to look back at something that happened in the past and say, I'm not going to let that affect me anymore, because your subconscious has been going through this path over and over again of reaffirming what happened then is true. It was true now. It's true. It was true then. It's true now. And I keep living on this thought loop of this belief over and over again, whether that misbelief is, I am not lovable, I am not worthy, I'll always be a failure, whatever the case may be. Any sort of false belief, lie that you tell yourself, this fatal flaw, it is so... over time, because you've repeated this to yourself and reaffirmed it through all of these actions in your life, it has become so deeply ingrained that it has to be something big to shake your character out of this belief.
Right. It has to be a major shift.
Yeah.
And if you're in the midst of writing a book or perhaps planning a book and you're wondering to yourself, what would that be? What would that deeper truth be? And Abby's talked about this a lot in some of her videos. Really explore what's important to you. What are some messages that speak to you, or maybe draw from your own life? What are some things, some pivotal moments or revelations that you personally had? Are you writing those into your story? Can you pull that to the surface? Can you make that part of your character's revelation? Or maybe it's just something that means something to you. It doesn't have to necessarily be something you experience personally, but it could be something you want to convey to your audience, to your reader, a journey you want to take them on, whether it's about a character who doubts their value as an individual, realizing their worthiness, or whether it's someone who feels like they're lacking a sense of belonging, coming to realize that they've belonged all along through the whole story. So thinking about what are some of the things, or maybe simply, someone who is afraid to really seize hold of life, realizing that they have all the power within them to live their life to the fullest, and that they don't have to be afraid, and that their fears have been lies that have kept them back. Thinking about some of these universal truths that ring true for you, and things that maybe you could also think about books you've read or films you've watched, messages that have impacted you, that you walked away from that film or that book with a positive feeling of breakthrough because of what you saw the characters go through, because of that transformative moment. Yeah. Like in the instance you were talking about of It's a Wonderful Life, that moment of the main character realizing how much their life was worth to them and to those around them. So there was this really lovely, impactful moment of family and value and cherishing of life itself. So think about some themes, and I know this kind of delves into themes, but you can think of what do you want this moment of revelation to unveil?
Yeah, because it's all connected.
Right.
And even if you're sure about the theme, but you're not sure about the character's lie or misbelief or fatal flaw, like it's within the theme. That's something that
it's all interconnected.
Yeah. And if you're like, I have this aha moment in my mind, I want my character to realize this, you can flip that realization on its head, turn it into a lie. It's the flip side lie of it. And that is your character's misbelief. That's their fatal flaw. And then you can start asking yourself, okay, where did that come from? Where did this start to grow? Where did this seed first be planted in their childhood or their past, or some trauma that happened to them, or even something that's not traumatic, that's just like a small affirmation over time that made them hold on to this belief that's not true. And so all of it is connected, and you can actually reverse engineer it. So maybe you have the aha moment, but you're not sure what their misbelief is. It's right there within the realization. Like you just have to flip it upside down and see, okay, what would be the opposite of that? And now where would that have come from? Where would that understanding, that belief have come from? And how can I craft a backstory for this character where others around them and external circumstances reaffirmed this over and over and over again, that they started adopting this as, yes, this is absolute truth. But yeah, like you were saying, the aha moment, figuring out what themes you're passionate about. It's a really important thing to do, and looking to other stories and movies and books and TV shows. Like, also another way to do this is like observing what do you keep recommending to people and like shoving at people, like, you have to watch this, you have to see this.
Right.
Like, chances are if you're like aggressively recommending a book or movie to somebody, it's because you are really passionate about the message you walked away with.
I like that. Yeah, that's so true.
Like, there's something about it that's stuck with your heart.
And the thing is, it can even be subtle.
Yeah.
It can even be subtle. Many of the films and books that we've really cherished over time have been subtle messages of just, family connection, or connecting on a deeper level with yourself, or, gaining a little bit more self-confidence than you had at the outset, or learning to let go of fear. So there's so many things that you can work with in this toolbox here. It doesn't have to be this massive realization of epic proportions. It can be something very small and internal, and it will still pack such an emotional punch because we care about your character. We care what's happening.
Right. Very true. And keeping in mind that this whole journey of change that you've been on with this character, that you're taking your readers on, it's had its ups and downs for sure, and your character has had moments where there was almost opportunities for them to awaken, but they didn't, because they were still held back by their lie. And you can watch them over the course of this journey, choose their lie, choose that false belief over and over again. And it probably ends up getting them in really deep trouble at some point. And a lot of times, like with the 3-act story structure, if you're following that or something like that, a lot of times around the 3rd act of the story, you have a disaster or dark moment where your character is facing a problem. And usually they've arrived at this problem because they've made some mistakes. They've chosen the misbelief over and over again. And now because of that, it has led them to this place of darkness, where they have to choose the truth in order to get out of that darkness. Or conversely, if you're writing a tragic character arc, a negative character arc, they might succumb to the lie and then have a moment of tragedy, and that's like their tragic end, even if they don't die, even if it's like they chose the lie and they end up in a dark place, where some other characters who chose the truth ended up in a better place. That can still carry a powerful message to your reader, your viewer, to your audience, because you get to see, what are the different paths that this person could have taken in life, and what are the paths we take in life without even knowing it sometimes, that are, maybe not the right path, and then it leads us to this place of like despair, because you kept choosing something that wasn't it wasn't true, and it wasn't bringing you to this level of personal freedom, really.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
Yeah, so bringing your character full circle on that arc, whether it's a positive arc or a negative arc, is what is going to sort of bring the punchline to your story.
Right.
To the theme, to the ideas, the big ideas that you're trying to share with your audience.
Yeah, you're really underscoring the best moments of your theme, the most impactful parts of your theme. It's kind of like an underscoring of those elements.
Yeah. And another thing I think a lot of writers wonder about and have asked me about is, can you have multiple aha moments for multiple characters in your book? If you have multiple point of views, or you have maybe different characters that you're switching back and forth, even if you're not switching to their point of view, but you're seeing their subplot.
Right.
And the answer is yes, absolutely. You can have multiple aha moments in your book. Definitely put the most focus and attention on your main characters, but you can have sub-characters also who arrive at their own aha moments throughout the story. And maybe it's at the same time, or maybe it's earlier in the story. And maybe even the sub-character's aha moment leads the main character to their aha moment.
You can have that crossover and interweaving, and sometimes that makes it even more impactful, that it's something multiple characters have a hand in creating, or that multiple characters are experiencing different layers of this moment of revelation and realization.
Yeah, very true. A story that immediately comes to mind for me for that is Emma has such a great aha moment, where when she finally realizes at the end that she's in love with Mr. Knightley, it all happens because the whole time she's had this friendship with Harriet, who has kind of always been kind of thinking less of herself, and she's definitely not as self-confident as Emma is, and Emma's been trying to sort of teach her how to be more self-confident and put herself out there. And finally Harriet arrives at this moment where she's I feel a lot more she's a lot more self-confident at that point, and she realizes that she likes Mr. Knightley, and then it's oh, wait a minute. Emma's wait a minute.
It's almost like that she feels like she helped to create her own disaster moment.
Exactly. So it's like the aha moment and the disaster all wrapped up in one.
It is brilliant.
Harriet is oh, I really love Mr. Knightley now, and I can see myself with him. And then Emma is what? No.
This can't be happening.
She never thought of Mr. Knightley as a love interest until that moment. So it's it all comes together and is really a masterclass in subplots. Yeah. Emma is just so great.
Everything by Jane Austen.
Everything by Jane Austen is a masterclass in subplots. But that one really shows how you can weave in a sub-character's aha moment with the main character's aha moment, and sort of wrap the disaster moment into that whole thing too. This whole ball of conflict happening.
Yeah, and right, exactly. So it's again, you can shuffle the structure. It doesn't have to be okay, the disaster moment's here, and then there has to be time going by, and then we have the moment of realization, we have the aha moment. It can kind of be, siblings happening, like very, like, here we go, disaster moment leading to the aha moment immediately.
Yeah.
So you can really play with, where do you want that? This structure is, as Abby was saying, malleable to your unique story, your unique characters, and what you're working with here.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing that I hear a lot of writers wonder about and ask me is, can you have, if you're writing a series and you're taking these characters through a journey through multiple books, can you have multiple aha moments, like one for each book? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Like, we're doing that with our series that we're writing, and you did that with your series as well.
Right.
And I think you can add your thoughts here on this, but I think the key is, like, finding a new journey for your character to go on internally with each book.
Yes.
Like, taking it from a slightly different angle, even if they're still dealing with some of the same conflicts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because just like us, we don't have just one internal conflict about one thing.
Yeah.
We are constantly growing and changing and transforming and, maybe developing new fears or new misbeliefs that we have to rise above, or meeting challenges that we have to face and deal with. So think of your own life, and you'll quickly find that there's not just one moment that it was my one aha moment happened back when I was 8 years old, and now I'm perfect. It's constantly changing. And so it will be the same for your characters. And that's something I really explored in my series, The Blood Race, was that the main characters, Hawk and Icarus, throughout the first book, both had aha moments. And then in the second book, it took it to a new level based on where that first aha moment took them. Now we have this whole new realm. It's almost like meeting that next level of the video game with new challenges to face.
Yeah.
Because of the aha moment took you, okay, now we're here. And now we have all these challenges and things to navigate on this level.
Right.
And ad infinitum, you can keep going with that. So if you're writing a series, it doesn't have to be like, oh, all the fireworks were in book one and I don't know what to do. And we're exploring that in our series as well. It constantly is, the further you write, the more challenges are being introduced. And I think many of you are probably nodding your heads right now and realizing, that I can totally relate to that, because the further you write, it's like the more complex and crazy and chaotic your characters usually become.
Yeah. Very true.
So you can always, like Abby was saying, it can totally be multiple aha moments, and each book has one, or maybe even there's multiple ones in a book. There's really no hard and fast rules about what has to happen and when.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really good point. It's like I like the analogy of the unlocking the new level.
Right.
Because that's, you're bringing new challenges into it. And the deeper you get into this story and the deeper these characters go into this journey, they should be facing even more and more challenges because of everything that they've been through already. Right. So, what happened in book one may serve to create a new conflict in book two, and then in book three, the combination of what happened in book one and two put together will create new conflicts and new beliefs for your character to have. That's the thing. We're always adopting new beliefs, and we're always evolving our beliefs. So sometimes a belief doesn't fully transform into, like, a lie, a misbelief doesn't fully transform into the truth. It just transforms into another version of itself.
Yes.
Like a slightly different way of believing this thing. And a lot of times that's how we adapt our beliefs and change our minds about things. We don't fully jump from, like, totally believing a lie to totally believing the truth. We're, like, in this halfway area of, we are starting to expand our awareness and understand the truth about something, but we still have threads of that lie coming back to haunt us a little bit. So you can play with this too. You can let your character, their subconscious is still holding on to that hard-won belief in the back of their minds, even though consciously they are trying to let go of it.
Yes.
Because that's a very human struggle that we all deal with, and, on different levels for different reasons. And your readers will be able to relate to that because they've dealt with that too.
Right, and that's part of what makes your story feel realistic, is to not not tie everything off so neat and tidy and quickly, but maybe, you know, they're still dealing with residual fear or unbelief or disappointment or anxiety about something, and consciously working on this process of letting go. That's really what it is a process. And so, like Abby's saying, let your characters experience that, and that will shine through as so realistic and relatable, and it will lead them to even more moments of realization throughout the story.
Yeah, 100%. And bringing it all back to always bringing it back to why does it matter to you? That is the number one piece of advice that I would give any writer. If I could only give them one piece of advice, it would be to make your story matter to you. Because if it matters to you and you can personally weave your own journey and your own experiences and conflicts and struggles into this character in a realistic, compelling way, that is going to speak to your readers. That is going to speak to somebody out there who needs to hear this, who needs to read this book. And maybe you're just writing it for your past self. You know, maybe you're writing it for the sake of, you wish you had this book 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You wish you could have read this book growing up. Maybe that's it. Or maybe there is some individual that you know and that you care deeply about and you wish you could give them this aha moment. Somehow make it personal, because that personal connection you have to your characters is going to shine through their conflicts and shine through their struggles way more than just like, I want to write an entertaining story.
Right.
You know, that can be fun, but below the surface, you want your readers, your audience to experience this story and then have a piece of it lodged in their heart forever. You know, you want them to be aggressively recommending it to people because they're like, this changed the way I see things.
Right.
This changed the way I see, like, that's, to me, one of the most fulfilling things to hear from readers is like, this changed the way I see life.
Right.
Like, that's
incredible.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
It is.
It's so special. And you can have the same experience with your readers, because if you make your story matter to you, that's where it all begins.
Yep. That's how it can matter to your reader.
Yeah.
That transmits through the writing, for sure.
So just to recap what we went over today, when writing the aha moment, ask yourself, how is my main character going to overcome their misbelief or fear and continue to the climax, therefore developing as a character? What lesson are they going to learn and simultaneously teach the audience? Remembering that only after your character crushes their misbelief, defeats their lie, defeats that fatal flaw, can they change as a character and then overcome the challenge that they couldn't have overcome at the beginning of the book because of this transformation. And also, of course, always bring it back to, why does the aha moment matter to you? Why does this story matter specifically to you? So important things to remember. So jot those down, and hopefully you made a lot of notes while listening to this discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you guys. So add to the discussion, comment below this video, and tell us what you think about all of this. What is your favorite aha moment that you've ever read or seen in a book or a film? We would love to hear your feedback on this. Also, make sure you check out the Patreon if you want to get exclusive live hangouts with me and Kate every month and support the show, keep it alive, keep it free of interruptions. That's patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show. The link will be below this video, so check that out. Kate and I are so passionate about writing books that matter, not just to us, but to the world, to readers. Books that have underlying truths and themes in them that we feel are important and need to be talked about more and need to be brought to readers' attentions, not just because they're important to us, but because we've found that through writing books like this, we've seen the response from our own readers, and it's so many amazing, like, life-changing messages and emails and letters that we've received.
So powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so we're really passionate about this, writing books that matter and weaving these themes of truth and light and life and joy into our books. So if that's something that you're interested in and you are fed up with the oversaturation of meaningless books in the marketplace, we invite you to check out our books on any book retailer online. The links are below this video. Kate and I have lots of books out actually at this point. Kate has a lot more books than me. This is my latest book, The Other World, which you probably heard me talk about if you've been on my channel at all. Kate has a, 7-book series?
Yes, a 6-book series. The Blood Race.
So good.
And you can actually, if you want to start the series, you can get the first book, Anomaly, the prequel, for free and start reading it now. So this is really a wonderful way to be able to support us as artists too. Is that this is what we're passionate about. This is what we love doing, and this is a wonderful way to support not only what we do here, but to support our work as artists too.
Yes. So if you're interested in that, you want to read some of our work and bring more books into your life that have impactful, meaningful themes at their heart, at their center, definitely check out our books. The links are all below this video so that you can start reading today and invite these literary works into your life and support us as indie authors as well. Smash that like button if you liked this podcast, and we will see you guys in the next one. Until then,
Stay stoked
and rock on.